Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and you're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network or on Radio X, and soon on the Talkstar Radio Network once again. Worldwide, toll-free, 800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main radio website where you can listen to the X Zone 24/7, 365, as well as during the live broadcast, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. until midnight at www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Jim Del Vecchio, has over 25 years' experience as an award-winning career counselor. In his spare time, he became a stock market expert and a spiritual researcher. In 2000, he was named among the top 5 investment managers out of 20,000 portfolios in a worldwide virtual investing competition. Now, since 1998, he has outperformed the stock market by a wide margin. He now teaches people how to perform the best money managers in the world on 5 minutes a week. After learning of the use of psychics in law enforcement, he studied some of the best in the country and performed his own tests of their abilities, using himself as a subject. He was told that Jesus and the angels want him to teach people how to create the energy that manifests abundance, share how he can overcome obstacles, and introduce people to a course in miracles. He currently has a book, audiobook, and DVD on manifesting miracles. Manifesting Abundance, the Universal Key. Jim teaches 3 workshops titled Manifesting Miracles, Tuning Your Vibrational Frequency, a Non-Denominational Approach, Trading Secrets from Mutual Funds, and Making 30% a Year in Stocks. Wow. He should run for president. Move over, Donald Trump. Joining me now is Jim Del Vecchio. Jim, welcome to the X Zone.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Good to be with you.
My goodness, where do you find time to do anything, Jim? You're such a busy guy.
Well, I'm retired now, so I got a lot of time to play golf, and I pick up bowling, and I'm down here in Florida now.
Listen, I have to ask you, since you've done stock market, the investment, I believe you've got your fingertips on the artery of the financial world still, even though you're retired. What do you think of Donald Trump's run for president of the U.S.?
Well, he says a lot of things that are quite brash or whatever, but he went to the Wharton School, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it's a top business school. And he's very smart. He knows a lot about economics. He knows how to get things done. So hopefully he would be a good president if he won.
All right, geez, I had to get that out of the way since you're a financial guru. Let's talk about what we talk about a lot here in the X Zone, the paranormal and parapsychology. Now, what was it that made you decide to do your own study into the abilities of some of the country's best-known psychics?
I had a friend that I was working with, and I should say that I had way back when I was 23 years old, I had a major operation, and I was in the intensive care unit, and I just basically I was like an agnostic or an atheist, and I just sort of said, if there's a God up there, get me out of this, and I will serve you for the rest of my life. And then I had an out-of-body experience where I felt I was viewing the room from outside my body, and the very next day after making that promise, my situation started, they telling me my situation stopped getting worse and started to improve. So that got me started, and I read about Edgar Casey, and that was interesting. But then I went into the normal churches and Christian churches and so forth. But then years later, I had a friend who was asking me after my dad died, how did you handle that? You know, and I sort of mumbled something about faith, and then I thought to myself, you know, there ought to be a way to scientifically prove this. So I just sort of, you know, talking to God, said there should be a way to do this. And then all these things started happening, and one thing led to another, and one person led to another, and I was on my way toward researching this phenomenon.
When did you start talking to God, and when did He start talking back to you?
Well, I've been probably back then when I was 23 years old is when I started talking to God. I did when I was young, but then you know, things happened, and my mother was alcoholic, she died, and so I turned away from God. But, you know, as far as God talking to me, I don't hear a voice or anything, you know, it's just, things just started changing, and, you know, things happen, you know, coincidences and things like that. And, you know, I've just been on this path for quite a long time. I'm now in my 60s, so it's been a while.
So tell me about the research you did, and how did you perform your testing?
I started, you know, I saw the TV show on the psychics being used in law enforcement, and I thought, and I saw the actual detectives that, you know, where we were using them, and that they were typical. You could see they were typical, you know, very skeptical, but they would say things like, well, as long as the bad guy goes to jail, I don't care how I get the information. So I thought, wow, this is really real. You know, I didn't realize there were so many people that do this. So I just started, I ran into a website, I think that said Field Tested Psychics, and because I just went out and did a Google search on, you know, psychics that were proven to be accurate. And then I just started calling them up and started getting readings from them.
And what were your findings?
Early on, it was almost like, I will say, God was giving me a little bit at a time. I was quite skeptical myself.
Right.
And so there would just be little things like, you know, they would predict something. They would say, well, you're doing something where you're helping people. I was a vocational counselor, and they said, you've written a book, or you've written something, handouts or something, and all this was accurate. And I said, well, that's pretty good. So I kept on going, and then it kept getting more and more impactful, I guess I would say. And I started, at one point, I read about angel communicators. And that was, when I started doing with the angel communicators, they seemed to be more accurate than the other psychic.
You know, apparently you've been told by intuitives that you were with Jesus. And I was wondering if you could tell us about that story.
Yeah, this was the first, I think it was the first angel communicator. I read a book about this, and this one guy mentioned this one woman. Her name is Atira, and she's in Seattle. And he just singled out her as being, like, really good. So I thought, well, actually, I said I'm doing my, you know, my discourse with God, and I'm saying, well, I think I got enough information for my book. But then I started seeing these numbers, like I would wake up at 4:44 in the morning a lot, and I would do these 44 numbers all over the place. So I said, well, I guess I'm being given a sign here, so I'll call Atira and I'll make an appointment. And Atira told me that I was with Jesus, and that I was, you know, I helped his disciples, and I tried to save him, but I couldn't, of course. And I said, I'm not going to put this in my book, you know. So I said to God, I said, well, you know, if you give me another accurate person, because Atira was very accurate, if you give me another accurate person that says the same thing, then I'll do it. And then I did finally meet somebody. Her name is Emily Rivera, and she lives right here in Florida near me. And she was extremely accurate, and she said, gave me the same story, basically.
What do you think your mission is?
I think I've been told by a number of people, teacher comes up a lot.
No. I don't want to hear what other people are telling you. I want to hear what Jim feels inside. What does Jim feel his mission is? Well, Jim feels the same way as what they're saying. It's congruent. Yeah, it's I've been just a different way to say it. I was a vocational counselor, so
I tried to help people to figure out what they wanted to do in life, and I read What Color's Your Parachute years ago, and that really appealed to me because he was talking about being a good steward of the gifts God gives you. And I think, of course, I worked for the state. I couldn't always talk about God with people, and not everybody believes. So I would just take the God thing out of it and just talk to people about what their skills are, what their interests are, and that is sort of what I think many times that's what God wants you to do. Something you're interested in might be what God wants you to do.
Isn't it funny? As a person who worked for the state, you couldn't mention God, but now if a person mentions Mohammed and you say you can't do that, you're violating their rights. It's funny how this whole world goes around, isn't it?
Yes, it is very. Yeah, it is interesting.
You changed the focus of your research from studying general psychics to studying angel communicators. Was that your decision, or do you believe that was a decision that was made through the higher realms?
Well, it was probably both. I don't know how that shakes out, but I just basically go on and like I say, I don't hear things, I don't see angels or anything, but I just basically go on what I consider to be the scientific evidence I was getting, and the psychics were good. I mean, they were amazing to me. The best general psychic I got, I would say, I would rate them on the number of hits they gave me. If they told me something about myself that was true, I would give them a hit. And the best general psychic I got was 7 hits. And when I started with Atira, I think she got something like close to 20 hits, the first conversation I had with her. And that was just over the phone. And it was just, kind of blew me away. As a matter of fact, I was getting ready to retire, and she said, I think they're telling me you're just done. I think that means you're about to leave a job. You're in the midst of a big life change. And she says, and I think, are you moving? Because I see boxes. No, and I had boxes packed. I'm moving. So that's interesting. And I did a little bit more digging, and I asked Atira, as well as some others, why do you think angel communicators were more accurate? And basically the answer was they're getting the information from a higher source.
So does that mean the psychics who are not angel readers or angel communicators are phonies?
No. Well, some. I mean, there are some out there that are phonies, but no, there are a lot of them that are very good. They might be getting it from a spirit guide who is, not an angel or not a master. It might be their Aunt Harriet or something like that. So they're not getting it from a higher source. What Atira said to me was, if I remember correctly, she said, I go to angels masters first, and I let them screen the messages. So you're getting, you're getting a higher realm there, getting more accurate information.
Interesting. So with all the information that you gathered, with all the evidence you gathered, what did you decide to do with it?
Well, I wrote the book, Manifesting Abundance, and I have all that, what you mentioned at the outset, the audio book and so forth, and all that. And that's what I do. I give workshops occasionally, and sell the book through Amazon.com, and I have a website where people can order some of the materials. And that's basically what I do. I mean, I'm retired, but I do this as a semi-working kind of thing.
So, do you do readings as well?
No, I don't. I don't do readings. No, I'm not psychic myself. Well, they say I am, but I'm. I guess maybe I am a little bit. To be a counselor, I guess you have to have some kind of some kind of an ability, but not like a professional psychic.
The courses that you give, what can a person learn, and how do they learn it?
Well, I give courses in like that one on the fine-tuning your vibrational frequency, and that is basically trying to look at myself and try to give people an idea. I think I come up with about 70 different techniques that they can use to be kind of attune themselves to the divine.
Right.
And that helps, I think, with many. It could help with health. It could help with relationships. It helps in many different areas. And then I have the ones in the stock market, the one on trading mutual funds, and another one on making 30% a year in stocks. So I have a lot of background knowledge on that. And by the way, I think I was helped along with that, too. I think I was given guidance on a lot of these things.
Why do you think you've been given all these perks, the guidance, the life with Jesus, doing the research on psychics and angel readers? Why do you think that Jim Del Vecchio was chosen for this mission?
Well, who knows? I mean, a lot of people that have been chosen are unlikely candidates, and I think I was also unlikely to me. Mm-hmm. I was just a regular person, and I just said, "Well, why did you choose me?" So I did get some background information. I guess my mother becoming alcoholic and dying when I was young. They said that tended to that opened my heart and my soul expanded, and that basically set in motion. And I said, according to Emily, I think she could be right. It was so long ago, but she said I said a prayer that I wanted to help other people that were in pain and so forth, and that sort of started this whole thing going. And for whatever reason, just more and more was coming to me. I think it's not something I really can answer. I think it's God chooses certain people, and one of the things that sort of hits me is that I think my message is that anybody can do this. Anybody can be close to God, and I'm proof because I'm not anything special. I'm just a regular guy.
How can someone listening tonight who doesn't have the time, who doesn't have the energy, who is laden with personal problems, whether it's financial, whether it's matters of the heart, whether it's a child who's going through a heavy time because mom and dad are fighting, they're looking at divorce, or how can somebody who is looking at a lifetime filled with addiction, how can they go to a psychic? How can they find the right psychic who will not take them for everything they have and not give a damn about them personally, only about the credit card number that they take at the beginning of the session?
Well, I think just like you choose a good doctor or a lawyer, word of mouth, you can ask people. I say with me, I went to the internet and I put in there, I forgot what the string I put in, but I got to this website that said field-tested psychics. I think that was with the Edgar Cayce organization, the ARE in Virginia Beach. And they have a lot of people that were tested by universities and other third parties. That would be a good way to do it. And I think people will find their way, as Jesus said, seek and you will find.
Sure.
I think if people just keep seeking,
but
keep asking questions.
Yeah, but Jesus didn't charge people for advice. And what does this tell us about society where people are willing to dish out their hard-earned money to sit and talk with a perfect stranger on a telephone, and these people are willing to take advice from a perfect stranger instead of going to friends and professional counselors? Yeah, professional counselors certainly. Friends, basically, from my experience as a counselor, sometimes friends are the worst people you can go to. Sometimes you're better off. I believe in professional counselors and psychologists and so forth because they're impartial. But the psychologists, counselors, and so forth are very good, and I think they're very good because they can stay with you for a longer period of time. But a psychic can also be helpful because they might give you some insight. There's a lady, I have a video clip on my website of the one who was the most accurate for me. That was Emily Rivera. And if people are interested, they can go to my website and look at the clip. I think it's about 13 minutes long or something altogether. But she's the real deal, and if you find somebody like that, they're gold, Over the years, I have I have had psychic readings from I don't know how many psychics. I've lost count. And I must tell you that 0.0001 have even come close. The rest, oh my Lord, I had a psychic medium on who I was talking to her during the interview, and she said, "Oh, I've got a message from your deceased sister." I said, "Really?" "Yes, she has a message for you." Anyway, she went into this diatribe, and I'm listening, and the information that she was coming out with was, unbelievable. But then I had to break the news to her that I didn't have a sister.
So I figured you were going to tell me that. That happens.
So when there are psychics out there who are no more psychic than my 3 Shih Tzus,
right?
Who just because they have a website that they bought at GoDaddy.com and they use Skype or any of the other Google phone and video, and they sign up for a PayPal account and they start taking people's money. I find that so wrong, where they do not take any responsibility for what they're doing. When you go to a trained professional psychologist, counselor, psychiatrist, you're dealing with someone who has ethics. You're dealing with someone who has responsibilities. You're dealing with someone who reports to a governing body. But yet, anybody can become a psychic and just blow smoke. And what they will do is they will tell the person who is calling them exactly what they want to hear. Years ago, we used to do the show and take the show on the road and take it to psychic fairs. And it came to the point where I told the networks, I am not doing it anymore because I watched people come into these psychic fairs and go from psychic to psychic to psychic to psychic to psychic, dishing out $70, $100, $200 a pop. And I would always know when that person heard what they wanted to hear because they didn't go to any other psychics.
Yeah, there are certain people called cold readers.
Yep.
And they watch. I had one of these I went to, and she said, "Well, I'll read you, whatever. I'll read you for $10." And I said, "Well, okay." I sort of figured what I was going to get for $10, right? So she was looking at me, and she would say, "Oh, you're very depressed," and I'm just trying to keep a straight face,
sure.
Right? And she's like looking and see if I have any. And then if I look down or something, she'd go, "No, wait, you're this." So she's like guessing what I'm. Yep. Yeah, that's not the real deal. Also, they told me certain people are harder to read. They said I'm easier to read because I have an open energy or something like that. I don't understand about that, but you make a very good point. It's and I don't say that people should go out and go to psychics or whatever. This is
sure.
something I developed an interest in. Mm-hmm. I think basically, and Edgar Cayce said this too, we can be our own psychic. We just go inward and just pray and just think about, again, for vocational, I would think, well, they would say, I don't know what God wants me to do. And I'd say, mm-hmm. Well, what do you want to do? What are you interested in? Well, I'm interested in, whatever, cake decoration.
Sure.
Okay, well, maybe that's what God wants you to do. That's something that's an interest that you have. So, I think we can be our own psychic. But I just did this because I wanted to prove something,
yep.
Or prove it wrong or prove it right or whatever.
When it comes to psychics, Sylvia Browne was one of the big psychics. And how come she couldn't predict her own death? How come there's never been a psychic who's picked the winning lottery number or any of the major lotteries that are out there? The Powerball. Thanks, Craig. The Powerball. How come they never find the gold mines? How come they never find the stocks that are going to split?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Sometimes they'll say that, God or the angels or whatever don't work that way. They won't give you lottery ticket numbers. But I don't know if you ever saw that thing, America's Greatest Psychic Challenge. See that on TV?
I sure did. In fact, I spoke to Michelle Whitehead. Whitehead?
Uh-huh.
Michelle?
White Dove or something.
Yeah, Michelle White Dove, right. Yeah.
White Love or something like that.
White Dove, that's right, Michelle. And she won it, and she's been on the show a number of times. Mm-hmm. But there are people who want the psychic to tell them how to run their life. We used to have the psychic calls on Friday night. I cut that out because I could see a dependency forming with certain listeners. And I don't want to be part of anybody's dependencies, It came to the point where this one lady called up and she asked the psychic, am I going to find Mr. Right? And I said, I'm going to answer this one. Do you go out and let people know that you're looking for Mr. Right? Well, no, I don't. So Mr. Right is going to be the pizza guy, the mailman, or the FedEx guy. Next caller.
Right.
People should, I find it so frustrating when people cannot take control of their own lives. And I find it so sad that a lot of these psychic networks put their commercials on in the middle of the night when there are people who cannot sleep because of financial problems, love problems, their jobs, and they are targeted and they are produced to give a glimmer of hope to those at their darkest hour. And I am so happy the Canadian government and the American government, I believe, said you can't do that anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
You and I have to take a commercial break. Please stand by. Nice talking to you, Jim. Thanks very much for taking time out of your busy, busy day to join us here on the X-Zone. Stand by. We'll be right back with you. X-Zone Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Jim Del Vecchio, his website is learntoattractabundance.com. That's www.learntoattractabundance.com. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Come to you live Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and a whole bunch of other networks. And now in Europe on Radio X. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And Jim Del Vecchio and I will be back on the other side of this news break as we continue here in the X-Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com. If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie, natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiecka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiecka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Welcome back, everyone. Jim Del Vecchio is our special guest. His website is www.learntoattractabundance.com. That's www.learntoattractabundance.com. Jim, what is the secret to attracting abundance?
Focused on gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I was in intensive care when I was way back when I was in the hospital.
Right.
And I had nurses coming in, and I had tubes coming out of me, and the nurses were complaining about the traffic, their family,
right.
blah, blah, blah. And I thought, boy, we don't realize what we have,
Until it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. So then I said, well, I'm going to, focus on this, just be thankful for what I've got.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started doing that. And things started changing. My life started changing in really remarkable ways. And then later I found, by going to these psychics and angel communicators, they had said that this is one of the things that had changed me and changed my vibration. I like to say it's a vibrational frequency. As a matter of fact, I use the example of a radio, a lot of times, like if you don't turn the radio to the right station, you won't get the right information you're looking for. So I'm thinking if you tune yourself, you tune your vibration to a higher vibration or whatever, you'll get better information and so forth.
When you're doing your lectures or your seminars or your workshops, what is the common thread between all the people who come?
Well, it depends on what I do. If I just do, sometimes I'll just build a workshop that's just management, just stock trading or something, and I downplay spiritual stuff. I might just make a mention of it and say, if you're interested, go over here. But if I do one that's a spiritual one, then I'll get a lot of people that are spiritual, and I try to show in a flyer or an advertisement or whatever that this is not your typical Christianity or dogma thing. It's more, I don't know if New Age is what you could say or whatever, but I try to put language in there, and I tend to draw the people that are interested in something more than just being fed information,
right.
like you know what I'm talking about, right? Just not the typical Christian church or whatever. That's why I said a non-denominational approach is what I'm in one of the videos.
So why do you think people are so interested in angel readings?
I think, for one thing, some people, quite a number of people, don't have the money to get their own reading.
Right.
I felt I was blessed with the time and blessed money to do this research. So I think that's one thing that they can learn from me. Some people are afraid of it or whatever. So I think they're just curious to see what has happened and what my studies have shown. That's one thing. And also many people, for ages, it goes back into the Old Testament talking about angels. So many people believe in angels and they're somewhat comfortable with them. And I think that helps too.
What do you think angels are?
I guess I would say they're spiritual beings that I asked the Tira this, and she said when the split happened, meaning sometimes I think of like a Big Bang Theory or something, where we split, or the Adam and Eve story, if you believe that. Whatever that split is, the angels stayed with God, and we got stuck in this matter or something like that. But the angels stayed with God. And also, I think it's kind of interesting, but I've looked a little bit into other cultures, and I think they're probably seen in other cultures not as angels like in the Judeo-Christian sense, but as other things. For instance, I went to a Thai restaurant, and I saw this woman figure, and she was like doing a dance, and I asked the girl, what is this? Is this a spiritual figure or something? And she went back in and she came out. She said, she's like an angel. And that's what I figured. So I think they call them different things in different cultures, but I think it's all the same, basically, if that makes any sense.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. How do you know that angels are real and not a figment of our imagination or something that has been pounded into us through the religious philosophies that we are all subjected to?
Right, yeah. That's a good question. I don't think at least for me and for my studies, I can't say that they're angels, but what I can say is they've come up, these people that are angel communicators or psychics, whatever, have come up with information that they do not know about me. They didn't know me from Adam, and they came up with information that nobody else knows, or whatever. So that has proven to me that they're privy to, to this information. Now, they say it came from angels, so I'm just saying I accept what they say. If they say it came from an angel, I'm just going to accept that. Yeah, but that is a good question. I don't think you really can say, I don't know if this is an angel or a spirit guide or Jesus or Buddha or whoever, but it's all I can say is it's accurate information.
How do you think one's religious upbringing plays in the part, whether you believe or you don't believe in psychics or angel readers?
I think it plays a huge part. Again, it's going back to psychology. Many times I see people who have problems. I mean, people, many times it goes back to childhood. People that have been successful, it goes back to childhood many times. And I think this thing of, people grow up, and if they grew up in a Christian household and they were told that the minister is the authority, they may be kind of brainwashed in a sense.
Who's brainwashed? The child or the family or the minister or the religious philosophy? I
think it comes from probably, back from ages and ages. For example, them saying the minister today, he probably had a father and mother that maybe they were ministers or maybe they were just religious. And it just gets passed along from generation to generation.
Gotcha. So where do you see the role of the psychic or the role of the angel messenger in the future as we progress into the new high-tech robotic age?
I see it being a greater role. Now, maybe it won't be a psychic. Maybe many of us will will not need a psychic. Maybe we will get the messages ourselves and get accurate messages. But I think it's going to increase because it's real. It kind of reminds me of Christopher Columbus. People said the world is flat. The world is flat, and they wouldn't go against the Queen or whatever. And then Columbus discovered things and brought them back. And then when the Queen said, "Yeah, that's right. The world is not flat. It's round," then everybody said, "Oh yeah, the world's round." So I think it will slowly become known that this is accurate information from certain people that are accurate. Again, there are charlatans out there. But,
sure, there are.
There are people out there that can do what they say they can do, and I think the truth is going to prevail.
You used the example of Christopher Columbus, and in my opinion, he's one of the biggest fallacies that academia has ever betrayed on us, because we know for a fact that the Vikings and the Irish were in the Americas way before Columbus.
There you go. Yeah, I didn't. I was wondering. I thought I could slip that one by you, but I guess I couldn't.
Nice try.
I knew there was others. There were other people that did that, but I didn't know who they were. So I just used Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. So what is your take on where does one cross the line when it comes to spirituality and dabbling into the paranormal?
Well, when you say paranormal, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, let me see. Witchcraft and psychic readings, that's part of the paranormal. Because here in Canada, telling a fortune for a consideration, which is money, is against the law. Mm-hmm. It's in the Criminal Code of Canada. Uh-huh. And I find it quite funny that we have all these psychics all over the place and no one's enforcing that law. But hey, I'm just a little radio guy who used to be a cop, and I wonder these questions. It's all right. So we've got witchcraft, we've got ghosts, we've got wait a minute, we've got prophecy in the Bible. We have spirits in the Bible. I guess they're ghosts. We've got UFOs in the Bible. We've got Ezekiel's wheel, and the list goes on and on and on. So, in your opinion, is there place for religion and the paranormal to finally come clean with each other and say, hey, we're both one and the same?
Yes, I think so. But the only thing is, religion, at least from what I've seen of Christian religion, is that they believe certain things are written. And from my perspective, I look at it from more of a scientific perspective. And I would say, well, he said Jesus walked on water, and I just, can't accept that.
Well, he did.
Maybe
he did. He knew. He really did. He knew where the rocks were.
Yeah, right. And maybe he did. But the thing is, I say, where's the proof? I need to see the proof. And people just believe certain things without ever seeing proof. And I think what really comes down to, we need to make a scientific investigation of this. And if people were told that Jim Del Vecchio or Rob McConnell can walk on water, I think that's nonsense. But let's test it out and see if it's see if it's repeatable and see
if
it can be verified.
Do you know, I had somebody make me that bet because I said I could walk on water, and they bet me a fair amount of money that I couldn't. I proved them wrong because I brought them and the media to a local skating rink, and I got out into the middle of the ice and said, I am walking on water.
They can't really refute that, could they?
No, they couldn't. And it was a nice sum of money, and I thanked them very much, and I continued on my own merry way. But nobody wants the truth, and this is my opinion, Jim. People do not want the truth because the truth is not sensationalistic. People want to be entertained. People want to believe that there's more to reality than many times there really isn't. And when it comes to the The people who are the doom and gloom believers at the end of the world, the end of the Mayan calendar. Jim Baker from the PTO Club is now selling his own line of emergency food because there's going to be the rapture sometime in March. They stick their heads in the ground, they put their butts up in the air, and they expect angels or aliens to come and save the world. Well, it's not going to happen. The only people who can save the world are those people who are alive on the face of this planet. And I think that what you did with your investigation is very commendable, because I don't know anyone else who has done what you did and said, well, these are my findings. And you didn't go in with a bias either way. You came out with a belief based on the evidence that you were able to gather through your research. So my hat's off to you.
Thank you.
So what's next for Jim Del Vecchio?
Well, God keeps surprising me, so I don't know, but I'm just going to keep on going down this path.
Yeah.
And one of the things I realized was over the years, when I visited people in hospitals, most of these were like friends and relatives, a number of them got better right away, like a spontaneous healing. And I asked Emily about this, and she had an answer for me. She said that I have a certain energy that's been developed over many years, and this energy can be healing and so forth. So I'm going to try to look into that and see what's behind that. How much is it? Because I'm not a healer. Like, I've done some research, and there are certain healers that can see, like remotely, they can see in a person's body and can see colors, and they can see whether it's gray in certain areas or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I don't see any of that stuff. So I don't know. It's just something I'm going to investigate a little bit more.
Does it worry you at times that you give so much credence to this Emily that you're constantly asking her for validation?
No, I don't ask for validation. I just she's been the most accurate person. And also it's been, she is totally she forgets from one person to another, even what she's, said. So which is great. I like that, because she just gives you what she hears. And many times she doesn't even, and the really good ones, they all do this. They don't really want to hear anything from you in the beginning. They don't want, because it might contaminate the reading. And she's been incredible, things that, she has said, like, for example, she said that Jesus was giving me, it was, long story short, he was wanted me to tell people or introduce people to A Course in Miracles, which he supposedly has written through a woman named Helen Schuckman between 1965 and 1972. But she said it's a black book, and I knew what it was. I knew what she was talking about, but I gave her the book. She said it has a certain texture. I would know it if I felt it. She never even basically heard of the book or didn't know anything about it. So I took the book and gave it to her so she couldn't see the materials on it. She said, "Oh yeah, that's the book," And she would tell me other things, and like there's workbook titles in there. I won't go through all this stuff, but basically it was proven to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was accurate information. So since she's been the most accurate person, I've been going to her and sticking with her.
Jim, we have to say so long for tonight. Let our listeners know how they can find out more about you and where they can find the information about your courses and workshops, as well as your books.
Sure. It's all on my website, learntoattractabundance.com. And I hope that the website is pretty self-explanatory, and they should be able to get on there. As far as the book, Manifesting Abundance, I just have people go to Amazon.com, and there's also an electronic version there as well.
Jim, thanks very much for joining us. Continued success, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet back here in the X Zone.
Thanks, Rob.
Good night now. X Zone Nation, that was Jim Del Vecchio. Once again, his website is learntoattractabundance.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. The X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and Radio X. I'll be back. Don't go away.